So how do you build a unique NFT project that is going to differentiate your brand from all the other hundreds of thousands of brands that are in the NFT space? That's exactly what we are going to be talking about in today's video. The frameworks that I'm about to share with you in today's video are the exact frameworks that I've used in the NFT space, building, launching, and selling out the NFT project that I co-founded a little bit over 1 year ago. It was a 1000 NFT art collection, one of the most saturated, the most competitive space in the NFT space. And these frameworks played a crucial role in the success of this project. And me working in the NFT space, having analyzed hundreds of NFT projects, I see that a lot of times the lack of following this framework is what often leads to a project failing to succeed. So make sure you have your pen and paper ready. Make sure you're ready to take notes because this is going to be a very tactical video that we're going to be diving into right now. Now, if this is the first time we meet, my name is Leon Aboud. I am trying to build the VaynerMedia of Web3 with my growth consulting agency, Unfungible. Over my short, almost 2 years in the NFT space, I've had the honor to work with almost 50 NFT projects, helping them craft marketing strategies and go-to-market strategies that work right now during the bear market. And my favorite part about this all is that I've had the chance to work with the whole spectrum, from basement entrepreneurs that have a passion and are trying to build an NFT project to pretty established blue chip NFT projects that you would probably recognize if I were to say their names. And my mission today is to help empower, is to help educate builders like yourself so you can build better products and services for the Web3 space, so we can make the Web3 space a whole lot better and onboard the billions of people into it. With that said, let's get into this video. Really, the concept that I'm about to share with you in this video is built on the principles of this incredible business book called Blue Ocean Strategy. The whole premise of Blue Ocean is that it proposes a new framework for companies to follow for them to create their own market and separate themselves from what they call is a red bloody ocean, where you have all the competition trying to take market share out from one another. Everyone's competing against price. This guy's offering this for $1,000. I'm gonna do it for $950. No, I'm gonna do it for $900. And you have that competition and that race to the bottom in a red ocean. The Blue Ocean teaches you how can companies come in, build a new industry, become the leader in that, and become the pioneer in that. And I've read Blue Ocean Strategy for the first time in 2018, kind of my early days into entrepreneurship. I was scaling my Web2 media company, Worldwide Engineering, and really the concepts from this book really helped me position Worldwide Engineering and create something unique that hasn't been seen in the industry, and has helped me become, at the time, the fastest growing page engineering content production company brand in the Web2 space. And these exact same concepts apply in the NFT space. In a sea of thousands of projects that are trying to compete for the attention of the same few people, how is it that we differentiate ourselves? How do we come into the market with a new product, with a new service that people have never seen before, differentiate ourselves and make people be like, oh my God, where has this been all my life? Take my money, please. So this is where I'm gonna ask you to pick up your pen and paper and write some notes, because I'm gonna introduce you to the fundamental concepts of Blue Ocean Strategy. I would invite you to read the book, invest in it, invest in your knowledge, because this is gonna serve you for the rest of your life. But here it is. So there's 3 main steps to deploying the Blue Ocean Strategy according to the book. So the first step is to picking the industry in which we wanna innovate in. So are we going in the context of the NFT space? Are we going after gaming? Are we going after fashion, metaverse, crypto, collectibles, art? Which of these industries are we trying to infiltrate? Are we trying to innovate in? Once we've identified the industry, the second thing we're going to be doing is we are going to be drawing the strategy canvas of the industry. And this is the interesting one. So for the strategy canvas, this is what we're going to be doing. We're going to be drawing a line graph with an X and a Y axis. So right here we have the Y axis, and right here we have the X. On the X axis, we're gonna call this competing factors. So here, on the Y axis, we're gonna call this offering intensity. So this is my beautiful graph right here. This is what it should be looking like. Now, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be filling the X-axis with all the things that our consumers care about in the industry. So these are all the elements in which companies in that specific industries are competing around. Let's take a very simple example, one that a lot of people are going to understand and one that is directly from the book Blue Ocean Strategy. Let's go with the coffee industry, one of the most competitive, most kind of thin profit margin industries out there. How did Starbucks come in and create a blue ocean for themselves and became the leader in the whole chain? So in the coffee industry, for example, what are all the criteria that people care about when they come and they walk into a coffee shop? Number one, they care about price. Number two, they care about the locations, the variety of coffee and offerings. They care about the quality, and finally, they care about the barista training. How professional, how nice, how aesthetic is the latte that you receive. These are kind of all the elements that people care about when they walk into a coffee shop. Now, part three of the Blue Ocean strategy, this is where things get interesting. Once we have an understanding of all the things people care about, this is what the Blue Ocean strategy framework tells us. What we're going to do to create a blue ocean for ourselves and separate ourselves is we're going to do one of the four following things. Number one, we're going to eliminate, reduce, raise, and create. So what do I mean? We're going to change the industry norms by doing the following. Eliminate. Which factors out of those that we just listed can we eliminate because the industry takes them for granted? Number two, reduce. Which of these factors can we reduce well below industry standard? Number three, how can we raise certain factors and make it beyond industry standards? And then finally, number four, and most importantly, how do we create a new factor that the industry has never seen before? So in the context of Starbucks, this is where we can pull off the strategy canvas of Starbucks. So here on the strategy canvas of Starbucks, you can see that Starbucks is in yellow and we have traditional coffee shops in blue. And you can see all the competing price elements. What Starbucks did is that they increased the first three, which is the price, they increased the locations, and they increased the variety of items that you can find at the coffee shop. What they did is that they completely eliminated the commodity factors. So before, coffee was the thing on the side that people came in, they walked into a bakery, and then there was the coffee. Starbucks instead made their whole branding just around coffee. So they decommoditized coffee. They made it a whole experience. They reduced the quality. Starbucks doesn't compete on quality. Everyone knows that. They don't have the best coffee. They maintained barista training to industry standards. And then this is where things get interesting. They created three new categories that have not been seen before in the coffee shop industry. They created the community spirit, they created employee care, and then they created social responsibility around the brand. So then, all of a sudden, what happened when you walked into a Starbucks, you walked into a second home of yours. You walked into a place where you felt welcome, where you felt like you had a community around you, where there was an experience around coffee, and they were able to offer that consistency in experience across all their chains. They didn't focus on having the best barista training, but they focused on offering people an experience that has not been seen before. So this is the strategy canvas for Starbucks. Let's look at another example just to drive the point home, one that is very studied across industries, and that is one of Cirque du Soleil. If you guys don't know, the circus industry was back in the days incredibly competitive, incredibly saturated, low profit margins, a lot of competing circuses. And what Cirque du Soleil did is that they came in and created something new, never seen before in the space. And they've created an experience for a target audience that wasn't really interested in circuses. If you go to a Cirque du Soleil today, you're gonna notice that the people that are sitting on the stage typically tend to be middle-aged to older. While typical circuses that you would think about, with the clowns, with the elephants, all that, it's for a younger audience. So perfect example. This is where you can see the strategy canvas of Cirque du Soleil compared to Ringling Brothers and the other smaller regional circuses. If you notice, Ringling Bros and the smaller circus, they're both in red, and you can see they have a pretty similar kind of value curve. Some are better, some are worse. But then Cirque du Soleil in blue came in out of nowhere and has a value prop that is completely different from what is out there. So if you notice what Cirque du Soleil did, they raised the price. They completely eliminated star performers, animal shows. There's absolutely no animals. I've never seen an animal in any of the Cirque du Soleil that I've been to, and I've been to a couple amazing shows. Al concessions, multiple show arenas. So these are multiple stages in the same arena. And here there's a trampoline, here there's an elephant standing up. No, it's one show and one show only. And then what they reduced was the fun and humor, and they reduced the thrills and the dangers in the show. They raised the uniqueness of the venue. Every time you go to a Cirque du Soleil show, you can guarantee that the venue is going to be spectacular. And then this is where they created something new that separated them from the rest that the others didn't have. They created a theme, and then they created artist, music, and dancing. Cirque du Soleil is more than a circus. It's an experience, it's a show. They throw you into a story. They created storytelling in the context of a circus that has never been seen before. And when you enter a Cirque du Soleil show, and this is me speaking from my personal experience, you enter a Cirque du Soleil, you are teleported into a journey, into a story from beginning to end. And all of a sudden, when you leave that venue, you feel like, oh my God, for the last hour and a half, I was teleported into another dimension, into a new universe. And boom, you're back into real life the moment you step out of that. And that's the power that Cirque du Soleil was able to create. They were able to create theme. They were able to create storytelling through its themes, and they were able to combine that with incredible music performance and dance performances. And this is how Cirque du Soleil became the epitome of circus performance and entertainment. So now that we understand the strategy canvas, how does that work for us in the NFT space? This is where we are going to go back to our notes, and we are going to understand to plot all the things that people care about in the context of an NFT project. What do people care about, and how do we apply the Blue Ocean strategy framework of eliminate, reduce, raise, and create? All right, so let's brainstorm together. What is it that people in the NFT space care about? Number one, they care about the cost of the NFT. Number two, they care about the supply. How many pieces of NFTs exist out there? They care about the quality of the art. They care about the artist's reputation. Who is the artist behind this piece of art? They care about the founding team and the reputation that they have. And then they care about utility. So these are the main 6 things that people care about. So here's what we do. We're gonna write those down on our piece of paper right here. So here very roughly is what it looks like. Good luck reading my handwriting, but hey, you get the point. And if we are to analyze most successful NFT projects through this lens, we all of a sudden are going to understand what is it that made most of them successful. And all of a sudden we can kind of start, okay, so if we are to analyze, for example, Bored Ape Yacht Club through the strategy canvas, we can notice that they had cost. It was pretty competitive cost, 0.08 when they were minted. Supply, it was a large supply for when the project had minted in 2021. Art quality, it was okay. Artist reputation, okay, no really artist. Team, okay, there was nothing really special about that. So they kind of eliminated these 3. Now, the part about Bored Ape Yacht Club, this is why they shot up, it was one of the first projects in the NFT space that actually had utility. They created the whole meta of IP rights. If you owned the Bored Ape Yacht Club, you could then use your Bored Ape to build businesses, to reuse that for commercial purposes. And Bored Ape Yacht Club were the first to offer that in the context of the NFT space. And they were one of the big reasons why they shot up and became so bullish, because they created a new meta. They created utility for the NFT space, which then created a community around their project. They were one of the first strong communities in the Web3 space. That's Bored Ape. If we are to look at Azuki now, for example, Azuki cost incredibly high. They minted at 1 ETH, if I remember correctly. Supply also very high, 10K collection. Art quality, amazing art quality at the top. No artist reputation at all. Team, the team was undoxed, but what they did have was the ERC-721A, which they launched, got the whole community bullish, and they minted out because of that. So the team is where they succeeded at. Utility, no real utility for Azuki, but a lot of speculation. Now let me tell you how I use the strategy canvas. And this is the same strategy when launching the NFT art collection that I co-founded called Naya. So Naya was in a pretty saturated NFT space, which was the art space. Back then in the NFT space, the most important elements that people cared about were cost, supply, art quality, and artist reputation. These are the 4 things that people really cared about. And this is how we were able to use the strategy canvas to create something in the NFT space that hasn't been seen before. So what we did is that we eliminated the artist reputation. Naya was an AI generated collection, 1,000 AI generated NFTs. So there is no artist, there is no artist reputation. When every other project was coming in by like this big artist in Web2, this big guy charging 1 ETH, 2 ETH for their collection, things were selling out for 20 ETH on Super Rare, there was Naya, AI artists. So we eliminated the artist completely. We reduced the cost. So our art went for 0.1 Ethereum, which when compared to most art pieces that were selling out, it was pretty cheap. What we did is we increased the supply. So before, most art collections were selling either one-on-ones or 100 collections. We sold a 1,000 collection of art pieces. So we increased the supply, then we increased the founding team reputation. So before, most art collections, it was simply just the artist. There was no team behind it. We came in fully doxed from the get-go, spoke on Twitter Spaces. We were like, yeah, this is my experience in Web2. This is what I do. Here's what we've done. And here's our project. So we increased the founder reputation. And then this is where we created something that hasn't been seen before in the art space. which is we created storytelling. Naya was not an art collection. It was a story and people were buying into that story. And the story was very simple. We all spend our day looking at technology. We spend our day looking at our screens. But have we wondered, how does technology look back at us? How does technology perceive human existence? And this is where we set on a mission as founders of this NFT project to try to understand, how does AI, for example, perceive a man with a broken heart? How does AI look at humans and see a mother caring about her child? How does AI perceive World War II tragedies? And this is where we were able to craft a story around each NFT piece that we had its own unique story, had its own way. And some of the things you saw that the AI was creating were mind-blowing. Like, oh my God, that is how AI sees World War II. They see blood, you can see the colors, they're tragic, they're lonely. This is how AI perceives loneliness, the loneliness pandemic. Look at these colors, so powerful. By creating storytelling around each piece of art, which is something no other NFT artist has ever done, we were able to create a niche, get people bullish about us. We were able to create something new, a new experience that people hadn't seen before, and the project ended up selling out. So in the context of your NFT project, how can you apply the 4 concepts? How can you eliminate, reduce, increase, create something that hasn't been seen before? And here's where I'm going to be giving you my personal recommendations. And these are recommendations that are based on my personal experience. I've had the opportunity to work with dozens of NFT projects and have a pretty good pulse over what is working right now in the NFT space. And here's what I'm going to recommend to you. I think right now in the current state of the Web3 space, the easiest bet for you to separate yourself from the industry is for you to bring a new industry into Web3. What do I mean by this? If you try to go in the anime space, you're competing against Azuki, you're competing against a lot of projects that are trying to come up in the anime space. And all of a sudden, by being there, people are always going to compare you, like, why should I go with X project if I can just get into this one? And because Web3 is so new, there are so many industries in the Web2 space that hasn't made it into the Web3 space. What do I mean by this? Example of Valhalla. Valhalla, they have anime art, but they are not competing in the anime space. They're not trying to go after the anime ecosystem. Instead, what they did is that they went for the gaming space, and they are onboarding esports specifically into Web3. They ended up going out, launching a big partnership with a huge esports team called Sentinels, brought them into the Web3 space, and all of a sudden they became the go-to Web3 people for gaming. If you are into esports, if you believe in the merger between Web2 and Web3 in the context of esports, then Valhalla is the project for that. How can you apply that in the hundreds of other Web2 businesses? How can you bridge those and become kind of the go-to, the leeway, the gateway for this industry into Web3? This is the first thing I will recommend to you. And here's 2 ways you bring an industry into Web3. The first one is you build a big community in Web2 and then you launch a Web3. So one example, I own this big community in Web2 called Worldwide Engineering. We have a little bit over 900K community members on Instagram. And if I were to create a form of utility and launch an NFT around that, let's say a 10K NFT collection, so I would only need 1% of my audience to get into the NFT, then all of a sudden, I would be able to onboard 10,000 new people in the NFT space in the context of engineering and technology. So I would be the first, for example, engineering project in Web3. Now, obviously, there need to be some thinking of like, what is the product market fit? How would that work? But if I'm able to scratch my head there and figure it out, all of a sudden I've created a new industry in the context of Web3, and I'm not competing against Bored Ape, I'm not competing against Azuki, I'm not competing against 123. So 1, build your own community and bring them into Web3. Number 2, partner with another brand that has a big community. And that was what Valhalla did, for example. Valhalla, they partnered with Sentinels. Sentinel, they have their own fans, they have their own community. Even in the Web3 space, they brought them in. And the people in the Web3 space that understood how big of a deal this is, they bought into the project as well. So either create your community and onboard them, or partner with a brand and bring this brand with you into Web3. Each one of those have its own sets of challenges, obviously. The second way you could potentially break out is by having some technological innovations. So that's exactly what Azuki did, for example, when they launched the ERC-721A. They had a technological innovation that set them apart. If we are to remember Art Gobblers, this big project, super hype, they were a free mint and they ended up making millions of dollars of secondary royalties. They did crash, but doesn't take away from the early success they had. One of the reasons why they were very successful is they had this whole new ecosystem, this new technology that they created and they open sourced, and many believe that this was going to be the start of a new revolution in Web3. And that was one of the reasons why the project did so well. They created this whole new technological ecosystem. So for you, how can you create something that is actually useful, that has some utility in the context of the Web3 space and is going to increase the reputation and the utility of the NFT project? So here we are working on reputation and utility by creating technology. Personally, I like the first one more than the second one simply because that's where my skill sets and my interests align. I have more experience with marketing and community building than I have with technology building. So for me, I'm going to much more focus on building communities and creating partnerships that I'm going to onboard into Web3 versus building a platform or software or new technology or new wallet or new Web2, Web3 integration. That is not the space I'm going to want to compete with. And this is where you need to ask yourself, which one of these two am I better at? Because the thing with technology is your technology has to be very good. And unless you have something like incredibly good that people look at and they're like, oh my God, this is incredible, no one's gonna pay attention to you. So the technology thing is a little bit more risky. And this is where you can ask yourself, like, what else has Leon not covered? In the creation factor, there's a lot of ways you could create something new in the NFT space. And I would invite you, again, create a piece of paper like this, identify with your project, where is it that you want to compete in the landscape, what industries are you going after, how can you create, eliminate, reduce, and increase in the context of the strategy canvas. So this is it, ladies and gentlemen, Blue Ocean Strategy. How do you create a new unique brand in the context of the NFT space? I hope this was helpful to you. If it was, and if you want to continue learning how you can create your brand and your product in the context of the Web3 space, I'm going to be linking another video that I think is going to be very useful for you. With that said, I'll see you in the very next video. Ciao.